Hi Homeworthy, I'm Jill. Welcome to my home in Virginia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Jill Crowe. I'm a home decor content creator and owner of Jillian Harbor. Welcome to my home. So we bought this home 2 years ago. We were living in South Florida. My husband was in the Coast Guard at the time, and we were kind of figuring out where we wanted to settle as a family after he retired. So I saw this house pop up online and I really fell in love with the potential of it. It's an older home, it's in Williamsburg, Virginia. We loved this area when we lived in Virginia previously, and I just saw so much potential with it. So we hopped on a plane and we're there, I think in the same day, toured it that night and put an offer in. So I just love this neighborhood, I love this area, the older homes, the history of it, and it just has become such a blessing for our family. We really love it here. I think with every move that we've done, we've had 6 houses in the past 10 years in different states. And with each house and with each state, I've kind of been able to acquire or absorb a little bit of the style in that area. So I think it leans a little bit traditional. In some ways it leans a little bit coastal. I think my husband's den leans a little bit colonial Williamsburg. So I don't know, it's kind of a mishmash, but I think modern traditional is a little bit of a fitting way to describe it. It's a reflection of everywhere that we've lived and everything that I like, which can be sort of eclectic. Welcome to our foyer. This is the first impression that I had of this house was the 2-story foyer, and I just fell in love. I always wanted to have a house with a dramatic entryway. I had never had a house like that. So this was pretty much it. I walked in and I was sold. But what we did in here is we had hardwoods, and a lot of people were upset that I took out the hardwood, but they were really worn, they were original, and they were beyond sanding and repairing. So I went with this larger scale checkerboard floor. And I love this because it's dramatic and it looks like marble, but it doesn't have the maintenance issues with marble. So it's been really great. We had a really cold, snowy winter and it held up really, really well. So the floor is kind of, I think, the first thing that people notice. Then the second thing is this chandelier. This I actually got on Facebook Marketplace, and we were still living in Miami and I saw it up here. And my husband was coming up here for work and I said, is there like any way you could get this chandelier? So he drove to Virginia Beach, he rented a truck, like a box truck, and somehow MacGyvered it to suspend it in the box truck and drove it up here. And then like the house was under renovation, so we had nowhere to really hang it. So we hung it in our garage for like a year. So it was like our chandelier in the garage, but now it's in its rightful place. And I get asked a lot about how do you clean something like this. I think a lot of people don't love the look of a crystal chandelier, but they don't want to clean it. So when we were installing it, we actually had our electrician install a lift. So there's a switch and I just flip the switch and it lowers like to right here, and we can just spray it and wipe it and clean it and then just put the switch and take it back up. I don't reveal the location of the switch because I know my kids would probably play with it all the time, but it's super helpful if you want to go this route. Also in the foyer, I have this chest of drawers that I love. I bought this at an estate sale when we lived in Virginia the first time, so it's kind of zigzagged across all of our moves with us. Some plates that I've collected too that I love. I love doing a plate wall, and I'm kind of playing around with different ways of doing them. And right now I'm in a phase where I love to mix and match the plates. So usually I used to do like all blue and white, but now I'm really adding different colors into it. I have some artwork that I really love in the foyer. This piece over here, my dad actually painted for me. It's of my wedding party. So that was his wedding gift to us. It's really special. He's done that for all of my siblings for their weddings. Over here's a piece from Kendall Blanchard. I love the water lilies. I'm a big fan of Impressionism, and I just love how she captured that sort of vibe. And then over here is a piece by Christo. And I just got that one recently. And I love it because when I was in high school, I had an art history class and my teacher assigned me Christo, and I had to like take this VHS tape home, watch, I think it was all about this project, the Pont Neuf in Paris. And Christo was known for wrapping monuments. He's wrapped islands before. He wrapped, or he did the gates in Central Park, which were just beautiful fabric gates throughout the whole Central Park. But this one really stuck with me, so I was so excited to find it online, and it's signed by him, and so that's another really special piece for me. When people walk in, I just kind of want that wow moment. I've always wanted a foyer like that, where you kind of feel the whole vibe of the house as soon as you walk in. I also wanted it to still feel open and airy, so that's why I don't have a ton of art on the walls in the stairway. I just wanted it to feel like warm, inviting, open, airy, elegant. Okay, welcome to our living room. This is my living room. Mike has his den, and then I have my living room, and we each kind of wanted a space that we could decorate however we wanted. Over here too, I have a little Picasso print. I've recently discovered online auctions, and I'm a little bit addicted to it. I can see why my parents were so addicted to eBay in the 90s, but it's so fun to be able to find pieces that I wouldn't be able to find like near me, but online. So that's a Picasso lithograph. This is a Degas reproduction. And again, here are some of my plates that I've collected over the years and that have survived our moves. Let's talk a little bit too about, I want to show you this mirror over here. So I bought this mirror when we first lived in Virginia. I went to this garage sale and I was the only person there. It was two brothers and they were selling all of their mother's things who had recently passed. She lived in North Carolina and she had some beautiful things and they were just wanting to get rid of it, which was really, really sad. But I welcomed her stuff with open arms. One of the things was this beautiful gold mirror. It has traveled with me across state lines numerous times. And it's just really a stunning piece, and I'm so pleased that I was able to keep it intact with all of our moves. Same goes for my rattan console. This one as well was something that I was desperate to try to keep intact with all of our moves. And I think a lot of people probably wouldn't put these two together. It's something very coastal with something very traditional, but just to me it feels, I don't know if it's just the blend of having, being in the Coast Guard, of always living on a coastal town, with being in a more traditional colonial town now. It just kind of fits for me personally. I think that's kind of this room too. We have a blend of hardwood furniture with coastal elements, rattan pieces, blue and white mixed with darker greens. To me, it feels very much like me, and that's what I wanted out of, what we call my living room. So one of the challenges in our house was that it is very dark. We installed some can lights in the ceiling, a flush mount too, but I chose these coffee tables because they actually have mirrored bottoms with them. So they bounce a lot of light and they bounce it up, so it kind of lightens up the whole space. Just decor wise, I love interesting objects. I love florals. I try to have some fresh florals in the house at all times. One of the things I love to incorporate in every one of my spaces is something that's living. So a living plant or a fresh bouquet. I've gotten to the point now where if my room doesn't have something living in it, it feels like it's missing something. But anyway, I love like these little touch lamps are so nice. Again, for just adding light in a darker space. Candles, of course, and just little odds and ends. Like I love this wavy bowl. I guess I'm in like a wavy phase right now, but I don't know. And I love coffee table books. That's another source of inspiration for me. Guests, when they come over, they love to sit here and leaf through them together. So I have a mix of grandmillennial one's about entertaining, one's about colonial Williamsburg, puzzles. This is also where we gather if we play board games. We usually play board games every Friday night. And so it's just a great space, functional and decor-wise for me. For me, design is not about having symmetry, not about things matching. I love layering different prints. So you have a very bold rug in here mixed with a striped sofa, mixed with my pillows that have a floral pattern on them. So I don't know, for me, it just all kind of goes as long as it sings off the same sheet of music, but everything can kind of stand alone as well. So I don't know, mismatched sofas to me, it's more elevated than getting something that's matchy-matchy. I love mixing things that I find and that I find beautifully. Like this art is from Home Goods. I believe it's from a Polish artist. So, I mean, I love high and low for sure. Either things that are thrifted or things that I can find at commercial stores. My plates here, I got the green ones at an estate sale. The white ones, the oyster plates, are from a brand called Dear Keaton. And my shelf brackets, I love incorporating those too. I have them on both sides of this room. To me, I'm just playing with different ways of doing plate walls. Like a couple years ago, I would have just done blue and white plates. Now I like the different colors. I like incorporating the little sconce brackets. Sometimes I'll put little orchids up here too. I've done little ginger jars up here. I've done my daughter's pottery on top of them. Just whatever kind of strikes me. I like things that I can change around constantly. I do love change quite a bit. So this is my workstation. This is where I write and blog from. I got this desk. I found it on Facebook Marketplace. A man in the next town over was selling and going through all of his friends' belongings that had recently passed. And he had some beautiful stuff too. I almost bought his dining room table, but it didn't fit. But I got this desk for like 75 bucks and it's solid wood. I love the carvings. I love the Queen Anne legs on it. It's just so striking. And I think it has a nice balance with the glass in here, the glass end tables, the marble pieces. It just fits to me. I love it. I recently got this chair. This is by Birch Lane and it's a tufted skirted chair. It's super comfortable. I'm a big fan of stripes. Like I have to kind of pull away from buying everything striped, but it layers great too. I'll put one of my floral pillows over top of it. I love the skirted element of it. I think it's a little more grandmillennial. And I got this rug recently. This is by Ruggable. I love the colors of it. Previously, I had like a beigey cream gray rug in here, and we were really, really pleased with going with something with a little bit more color saturation. It really ties in all of the colors in this room. It's got a little bit of the blues, a little bit of the greens, a lot of the greens, and a little bit of pink and purple as well, which I tend to have like pink and purple flowers too. So I love too, we have a little dog, so it's machine washable. I have little kids, machine washable. I'm a big fan of theirs and I just love their patterns and I love how it tied everything in this room together. So these are from my line Jillian Harbor, my pillow brand. I started my company 2 years ago because I was seeing a lot of pillows out there that were like $100, $200, and that was really not in my price point. But I also didn't want a pillow that was going to be 10 bucks and fray and fall apart within a month. So I started a pillow company just to kind of fit the niche that I needed. This is the Camille print. All of our pillows are double-sided and they have piping detail on them, things that are usually only found with high-end designers. I kind of wanted to bring it down into a nice medium price point. This is the Greenwich, and then I have the Mary pillow over here, and I love the Mary. That one's been super popular. It was featured on Meghan Markle's TV show. It was recently in People magazine with Wishbone Kitchen's photo spread. So this one has been well loved by a lot of influencers and content creators. But I just love having my own pillow company and having my own personal brand like that because it means so much to me to create something from start to finish and to bring it to people and then to get messages like, thank you so much. You know, I love too those designer pillows, but I can't afford them. And you really, you know, deliver something that has the elements that I wanted, but doesn't break the bank. Okay, now let's go check out the kitchen. So the house was pretty much original. It was built in the late 70s, I believe. So it was a yellow kitchen. It had hardwood floors in a lot of the rooms that had needed a lot of repair. The bathrooms were all original. So we did a lot of renovations while we were still living in South Florida. So kind of working with our contractor remotely to do all of the bathrooms and the kitchen and kind of open up some of the spaces too. Now we've gotten all those big projects out of the way. My husband and I love to do DIY work. We've been doing things like creating a wine bar in our kitchen, more of a bar in our dining room, a serving buffet, and my husband built the mantle in his den as well. So we love getting our hands dirty and doing some DIY. I think for all of our previous homes, we've been designing them for the next buyer. Like we've lived in houses for 18 months, sometimes 2-3 years. And so a lot of our renovations were so that we could sell it and hopefully make some money off of it. This time around, we're doing things like real wallpaper, not peel and stick. So things are a little bit more permanent. I think my tile choices are a little bit more bold, a little bit more me. Our kitchen has no upper cabinets, which really triggers a lot of people, but for me, I love it. And so I think things like that are a little bit more permanent, that are a little bit more true to my style. I don't really care about the next buyer. I intend to stay here. So it's more a reflection of us than anything. The one tip that was shared with me when I was a young military spouse, we had just gotten married. She was a spouse, her husband was well into his career with the military. She said that every time that they moved, they would buy the worst house in the best neighborhood and they would renovate it, and they would, after the 2-3 years that they were there, sell it and make a profit. And that really stuck with me. We had just bought our first home when we lived outside of New Orleans, and I thought, okay, my career might suffer following his career around. It was really hard for me to find a job, so I thought, let me make improving our house my job while he's in the military. And so that's kind of the strategy that we use to make the most out of moving so often. All right, now let me show you our kitchen. So when we bought this house, this kitchen was pretty much from this beam over. This was the kitchen here, and then over there was the dining room. So it was a rather small kitchen for a house of this size. And we really had more of a vision of having like a big island for everyone to sit and eat at. So we ended up taking down the wall between these two rooms and expanding the kitchen the whole way across. This space had yellow countertops. I want to say yellow countertops, original appliances, original cabinetry. Everything was functioning. So, kudos to the brand of appliances that lasted that long. But we decided we also wanted, because we now had this larger kitchen, to do something that we would never have done before, but since this is our forever home, but we went and did no upper cabinets. This kind of sets some people off online. I think it's either they love it or they hate it, but I love having drawers that I can just look down and see everything in there. So all of my glassware is over here, and over here, all of my dishes and kids' cups are right across from the dishwasher, which is super convenient to get my kids to unload the dishwasher. We did Taj Mahal quartzite countertops, and one of the unique elements we did was to run it up and use it as our backsplash as well. This little design above the sink and over the range is something that I worked with our fabricators to create. I basically just drew this out, and not to get too technical, but I was calling this like, okay, I want like a swoop-de-doo here, and then a drop, and then a run, and then like end with another swoop-de-doo. And it actually came to fruition, which is kind of surprising to most. But I love that, and I love this little ledge that I did across the whole length of the kitchen. I'm somebody that I love changing things out with the seasons. I love art. So I do love that I can put whatever kind of art I want on there. Nothing is permanent. I can put little jars. This is a little jar of salt or a little bowl of salt, some of my plates, cookbooks, little touch lights for extra lighting. To me, it just lives and breathes with us as a family. Nothing is permanent here. I did the same flooring in here that I did in the foyer. I love the checkerboard style. To me, it's super classic. The larger scale is perhaps a little bit more of a modern twist on it, but it cuts down on the grout lines and it just has more of an impact. We did this massive island. I don't know how two men carried this slab in, but they did it themselves. And this is, I think, 10 feet long. And one thing that I think people are surprised by, but I love IKEA kitchens. And so this is actually an IKEA kitchen. I have, the name is like super long. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it starts with an F. But they are such a great, affordable way to have a brand new kitchen. And we've done numerous kitchen renovations. We've done full gut IKEA kitchens before. We've created islands in our kitchen with IKEA cabinets. We've just swapped door fronts with other brands too. So there's all different ways that you can kind of get the most bang for your buck. But I love the style we went with, this black color, and I did unlacquered brass knobs and handles on it for a real nice traditional touch. I chose these lights. I thought they looked sort of old world, maybe a little bit like colonial Williamsburg, something that they would have had without the electricity, obviously. But it also pulls in with that brass color as well. I did 2 pendants over the island. Kind of went back and forth with doing 2 or 3, but I think 2 fits it really nicely. And then over here, this is sort of our headquarters as a family. We have our calendar up here that we put all of our appointments on. This is actually where we pack and ship a lot of our pillows from. There's a printer under here that pulls out. So this is a workhorse section of our kitchen for our business and our family life. I think if you're starting a kitchen renovation, I would really take a pause and think about your day-to-day functionality as a homeowner, as a family, what is going to make the most sense for you. So for us, the best thing was having the dishwasher right across from where we put our plates and our cups. Also doing so many drawers instead of having cabinets. Again, just adds such nice functionality for us as a family. I can see everything. I don't have to climb on top of my countertop to get to things. So think about those. How do you live? What kind of spaces do you need? Do you need to store small appliances? Do you need to store, where do you want like your knives, your forks, knives, spoons? So kind of ironing out all of those day-to-day personal details, and then you can build your kitchen from that starting point. I think sometimes if you go to these showrooms, everything looks so beautiful and you think, oh my God, that's exactly what I want it to look like. But if everything could be beautiful, but it might not make sense for you. So kind of really honing in on what makes sense for your day-to-day functionality. I want to show you this wine bar my husband and I made. This was actually the kitchen's original pantry. So it was like a pantry closet. We installed this flooring. This is actually wood flooring. On the backs and the sides, and then we did these walnut shelves and these brass rails, and then down here we did a little wine fridge, beverage fridge. And I love this little nook. I think it's kind of unexpected. People like round the corner and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I think it also is, kind of what I was saying about making your kitchen yours, thinking about what kind of things that you need. So for us, I love having beverages for my kids over here. This is great for entertaining as well. And it's something that, it's kind of a small space. I'm sure you have a closet in your house that you're like, well, I could probably use something better in here. So just it's unexpected and it's super useful for us. I get asked a lot, where's your refrigerator in our kitchen? This was actually like a writing desk with a phone, something straight out of the 70s, 80s. Useful, I kind of do wish I had a spot just to kind of sit down and pay the bills, but it ended up being the perfect width for a refrigerator. So we put it over here. And I also love that sort of design. I think a lot of people emphasize the 3-step kitchen or the 5-step kitchen where you can get from your stove to your fridge within a couple steps. So this is probably a little bit more like a 6-7 step. But I love that when my kids are over here looking through the refrigerator like for too long, They're kind of out of my way if I'm over here cooking. This is sort of a nice open space for people to gather and stare at the fridge. This is just a nice little cute rattan table. We had my family here for my husband's military retirement recently, and so this was another place where I set up like a little lamp, a little flower display, little charcuterie board, and I think we had like an ice bucket over here with some of the open bottles of wine for people to kind of grab and go. And I just love this view as well. Our backyard is super lush. There's just a lot of trees around us, and I love this whole bay window area. It lets a lot of beautiful sunlight in as well. All right, now let me show you our kitchen scullery. Okay, welcome to our scullery. So this is technically where our old dining room was, and I wanted a space for our kitchen that I could have all of my small appliances. Like, I love a small appliance. I have yogurt makers and ice cream makers and margarita machines. And so the scullery kind of houses all of those small appliances that we use on the daily. This is also where we keep all of our food. I love having drawers for my kids to be able to access their own snacks. And then this room also has a little dishwasher and a little sink. So when we are entertaining, I have everybody put their dirty dishes in here, and I just close off the doors and pretend like someone else is gonna handle it. And then I also have these cabinets on the top that have like all of our coffees and teas and coffee mugs. And then the one over there has some of my entertaining pieces. So like cocktail napkins, linen napkins, vases, candles. Yeah, so the wallpaper in here, I love how it feels to me like colonial Williamsburg. It's sort of pastoral. It's like a muted, darker color. To me, it adds a lot of perspective and depth in here in an otherwise pretty narrow space. It's super impactful, and it kind of kicked the cabinets up a notch. We did the same black cabinetry in here the whole way around. This is also where our trash is, which I would highly suggest if you are building a scullery, like put your trash in here. That way it keeps your outside kitchen nice and pristine and clean. We also did these pocket doors as well, so that if we are having guests over, we can put all the dirty dishes in here and kind of hide everything away. It's also a great space too for catering. So when we entertain, if we're having, we don't entertain that much, but when we have entertained and had some catering, and we just laid it out here like a buffet for everyone. So it's just a super useful space for us. So this area used to be part of the dining room. So the kitchen and the dining room were side by side. We took the wall down in between them, kind of expanded the kitchen maybe 3/4 of the way into that dining room, and then built this wall here to create the scullery. It's not that we got rid of our dining room. We still have the dining room now across the house, but this is a better use of space for us. So we incorporated this dishwasher. I think it's like 24 inches wide, and then also this sink. I love this sink with the cutting board inlay. So sometimes I'll prep food back here, but it's a great way to also hide like your dirty coffee mugs. If somebody's coming over, just pop that over top of it and nobody knows. All right, now let's go check out my family's dining room. I started sharing our home renovations, our DIYs, back in 2021. We had bought a true fixer-upper at the time when we were living in Virginia the first time. I'm talking like holes in the ceiling. We had to rebuild the entire staircase was falling in. It was a true labor of love. And so I started sharing just the day-to-day of that. And I also started sharing home decor that I liked personally that other people could shop. So I think the marriage of those two things, seeing people gravitate to the style that I like, but then also wanting to follow our story as a military family who's sort of working days and nights and weekends to redo this house, really sort of took off. And we love it. It's something that I would do even if it wasn't my job. It's just, I love sharing our story online. And it's opened a lot of opportunities for us. My husband now works with me on it. He's retired from the Coast Guard after 20 years. We have some amazing brand partners that I work with. We started Jillian Harbor together that we run out of our house, which we probably need to stop running out of our house, but it's just been such a blessing for us. And it all just started with, putting ourselves out there and just, sharing something that we were doing. I think home decor, at least decorating, was sort of in my blood. My dad's side of the family is very artistic. My grandmother was a seamstress. My grandfather was a woodworker. And so it's kind of been something that came naturally to me. I remember as a child, when my parents would go to the grocery store, I would like move their furniture around. I would move their living room sofa around, and they were less than pleased with me for that. But I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania, and I didn't know anyone in interior design. They didn't know anyone in interior design. So when I said I wanted to pursue that, they were kind of like, Jill, I think you could do other things. There's probably a better bet for you. But I grew up with, my grandmother, and then I grew up with a neighbor. My neighbor Anne was a DIY extraordinaire. She was amazing. I remember, going over to her house, and she would be painting the outside of her house, a 2-story house, with her husband on tall ladders. Like, they just did everything. And I admired that about her. She was a real Renaissance woman in that way. But yeah, I just think from a young age, I would flip through Martha Stewart magazine. I would watch her show. And it just was something that I always wanted to pursue, but I went and pursued degrees in marketing and in French. And so in a way, it's kind of like I've brought the marketing side and my love of interior design together. And, all things kind of played out for me. All right, welcome to our dining room. So you might recognize the wallpaper. It's the same that we used in the scullery. We did this above the chair rail in here and wrapped it the whole way around. I think a lot of people are daunted by the mural wallpaper, but it's really not that hard to install. We worked with an Etsy shop owner out of Poland, and she's super methodical and just has thought of everything. So when you send her your dimensions, she will cut and print the patterns in these giant sheets, like a couple feet wide. Whereas if you're doing like traditional wallpaper or peel and stick, it's usually a lot more slender. So you get a lot of the wall done in just one sheet. And so they just kind of start in one spot and keep going the whole way around the room. We did it in, I think, a day. It was not hard at all. In my dining room, I have this beautiful marble top table. I love marble top tables. I had one in our house in Florida that I sold with the house, and so I missed it. So I got this one. And then I found these chairs at our neighborhood garage sale. They're from North Carolina. That's all she could really tell me about them. But they are, I think, the perfect sort of traditional balance to the marble top. My chandelier I found on Facebook Marketplace. Because you can kind of see this chandelier from the foyer, I wanted them kind of both to be a little bit similar. But I think this one sort of almost has a French provincial vibe to it, which I love. I'm a Francophile. So that went really nicely in here. And then we also did the same cabinetry from the kitchen in here. I guess interestingly, I shouldn't bury the lead, but this was originally a bedroom. It was a bedroom, and this wall was solid, and this wall was solid to the foyer, and there was just a little doorway over there. So we ended up creating these cutouts. So again, we could let more light pass through and just have a lot prettier of a sight line from room to room. We did a marble top on top of this buffet that I love. And this punch bowl, my husband Mike actually got that for me for my birthday a few years ago. We were visiting his parents in Maryland, and we walked into like a consignment store, and it was there. And I have trekked that all across the country, and now it finally has its rightful place. Candlesticks I got at an estate sale as well. Those are very heavy. So this is a chest of drawers. This is by Serena and Lily. And I guess one thing I wanted to point out, because I do have little kids, is I tend to keep my kids' uniforms in here. This is like packed with their uniforms for school. And that's been like a little hack that I've really like to pass on to new parents. When you're trying to get your kids out the door, it's so hard to have to keep running to their bedrooms to go and get like their socks or the shirt that they have to wear today. So we keep all of our uniforms down here during the school year in the dining room, but that's just what works for us. So again, doing what works for you and your family. This little demi-lune table I got at an estate sale in Virginia. This is another one that's probably has been through the wars of moving. I think I've moved this one to 4 different houses, but I love it. I love that classic style of it, and it just works really well in this space. I love how the handles on it sort of match the Serena and Lily handles as well. And then these 2 chairs have also been through the war, but I love a cane back chair. I got these at an estate sale with my mom in Virginia, and I couldn't even fit them in my car. Like, we basically had to make 2 trips back home. But I think they go so well with the dark wood in here, and they provide extra seating when we have people over. All right, now let's go step into my husband's den. Welcome to my husband's den. So I kind of gave him free rein to decorate in here and pull things that he really loves. So I guess let's start with the paint color. I get asked a lot about that. That's Farrell and Ball light blue. And it's this really pretty muted blue, gray. Sometimes it looks green even. And I love it. It sort of lives and breathes throughout the day. This mantle he actually made. We had like a really tall fireplace that was just basically brick, and it came up to here. So he chiseled down about 3 rows, and then I designed the structure of it, and he kind of brought it to life. He's really talented with woodworking. Originally, this room had like wood paneling. I think it was like wood paneling up to like a weird height, almost like higher than a chair rail. So we took that down and smoothed out the walls, and we did close to a color drench in here where everything is that light blue color, except the ceiling, but I'm kind of thinking I might want to paint the ceiling it as well. Above the mantle is his TV. Again, I gave him free rein, so this is like where he loves to watch football, where we do movie nights. I love the frame TVs because it's kind of like a perfect marriage of he gets his big TV, but it also is disguised with some art. He's, again, really talented with woodworking, so he made the frame for it. On the pieces on the mantle, I try to keep it a little bit more minimal. So we have these beautiful blue and whites, and then these Chesterfield dogs, which I think I got. No, these aren't Chesterfield. I don't know what kind of dog that is. Dalmatian, I suppose. I love these though. They're so cute, and they're bookends, but I love to just kind of put them anywhere. I think I got these from an Instagram antique seller. That's another thing I love, another place I love to source from. You know, if you can't find it at your local consignment shop, there's so many of those online, those antique sellers that you can buy from. I got this George Washington painting at an estate sale, and then this chest of drawers. Gosh, where did I find this? I think I found, I bought it off somebody. I don't remember, but this one, I remember I shared about it, and I got so many messages saying like, do you believe in haunted furniture? And I was like, no, I don't think I do. But then I was always a little bit sketched out that, oh my gosh, is this? So we started calling it the ghost chest, and it's just caught on. And now my husband's like, do you know where that is? I'm like, I think it's in the ghost chest. So it's just one of those family terms now. This ginger jar is actually from that woman's garage sale that her sons were doing, the same woman with the mirror. I have this from her, and I also have all of her Christmas china. So I find some peace in that, even if her kids didn't want her stuff, like I'm kind of carrying on her traditions. She had every piece of Spode Christmas china, and now it's in my collection. And I'm, so if your kids don't want your stuff, maybe there's somebody like me who does. So find some solace in that. My mother-in-law got me this chicken. It's from France, actually. And I had salt and pepper shakers similar to this that I got in Normandy that ended up breaking in one of our moves. That's been probably one of the hardest things about moving so often is that I love my collections. I love things that have meaning to us. I don't have a lot of stuff, but the stuff I do have is really significant to me. So when stuff breaks, it's a little bit of a heartbreak, but this kind of took the place, and I love that little guy. Over here, he loved this. We saw this at a consignment store here. We don't know anything about him, but we call him George. And I think he fits that colonial Williamsburg vibe that we kind of have going in here. These sconces I found at, gosh, this one, there's this guy I befriended who ran estate sales. I mean, you probably have gathered that I like an estate sale. But he invited me to his storage unit once where he had like spillover contents from his sales, and these were in there, and I bought them. And I get probably a DM once a week about these things, and I feel so bad because I have no clue what brand they are or anything, but they are so cool. And I think they're masculine for his den, and they fit. So this is where we gather we do Friday night movie nights as a family. And so this couch is super comfortable. It's down cushions. You kind of sink into it. And then we've tried different configurations in here. Sometimes we'll move that chair here if we're all watching TV. I love swivel chairs because they're super versatile. You can be conversing with others on this couch, or those swivel chairs can turn around and talk to the people in the dining room. So I definitely love kind of changing things up as much as I can. And we try different configurations all the time. So this room was really dark originally. It had wood paneling up the wall, which made it really dark. This wall was actually completely intact. So we opened it up. That brought a lot more light through. But one of the ways that I love to bring light into a space, I don't love overhead lighting that much. I'm a big fan of lamps, like lamp addiction. This one I also get messaged about a lot, but I found it at HomeGoods and I snatched it up. I think it's so rare to find a pretty lampshade with a pretty lamp. Usually I have to go and source the pretty lampshade, but I love sort of these palm leaves, again, kind of coastal, maybe a tobacco leaf, and then having this really pretty pleated lampshade with it. Over there, that's a Target lamp that sometimes lives in my son's room, and sometimes I bring it down here, but he lets me borrow it. And it's, again, it just kind of feels more masculine and fun. So this ship, actually my husband's grandfather made it for him when he was a kid. And that was one that we bubble wrapped and tried to keep intact with all of our moves. I think a couple things have kind of come undone, but I love that we can kind of display this one in a nice prominent place in his den, in his living room. All right, now let's step through these doors and check out our back deck. All right, welcome to our deck. So this is where I love to spend so much time in the evenings. I love our furniture, our patio furniture. It's this really pretty wicker. Some of my Jolene Harbor pillows on here as well. We love to entertain out here. And my sofa and my chairs and the other sofa are all from Birch Lane. And my umbrellas, which I couldn't live without, these are actually from Walmart. And they are so nice because I can move them around depending on how sunny it is out here. I love to garden. Unfortunately, we have a lot of deer in our neighborhood, so they will gobble up anything in my yard. So I tend to bring as much as I can up here. So all my hydrangeas and my vegetable garden. So we could sort of back up right to a walking path. And I wanted to create some privacy. So I installed these really nice tall planters with some nice ferns on top of it. So if I'm out here and I'm sitting, I can't see them, they can't see me. Over here is my vegetable garden, which, my goodness, my tomato plant has really erupted in the past week. We've had a lot of rain and now a lot of sun, so it's super happy. And then over here is my garden box. I grew up gardening. My pap would garden. My dad was a big gardener. And it's something that I've really was kind of in the back of my head when we chose Virginia as our landing spot, because I knew I could garden so nicely here. So I really wanted like an outdoor space that felt like I was still inside. Probably the biggest way that I do that is by using area rugs. I think when you cover your deck with something soft underfoot, it kind of all flows from there. Outdoor pillows also do a great job of softening the space. Making sure you have conversation areas set up. So like this is kind of a really ideal setting to have this much furniture out here. We can all converse. And then bringing some of your elements from inside outside. So this is glassware, but I also love melamine. I love alfresco dining. So things like that I can kind of bring out here, and people tend to linger a little bit longer. Certainly if it's the summertime and it's hot where you are, creating shade so people feel comfortable. Sometimes we'll bring like a little TV out here and watch TV at night. And I love having music going. I think that also kind of creates a nice vibe where people don't want to leave. That's kind of a problem, but it's a good problem to have. Home to me, I think, means comfort, a place that you can really relax, find inspiration in. And I do tell people who move a lot that that's really comforting to me, because no matter where you've planted your roots or where you've been assigned to live, it's really about what you create within the four walls of your home. And we've had houses that were super tiny for us. We've had houses that were luxurious, but we didn't like the area we were in. It all just matters what's going on inside your home, how you decorate it, how you feel when you enter it. And so for me, that just means putting things that you love up, love to look at, things that you've collected, art that your kids have created, photographs that you love of your family and friends. So to me, that's what it means. It means comfort.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.